I'm Rhod Gilbert, stand-up comedian. People tell me I've got the toughest job in town, but I'm sure I'd find other things far more difficult. So I'm ditching my regular job and trying something completely different. This is my work experience. And this week, I'm a vet. With just a few days to cram in 5 years training, I needed a place that'd be happy to cut a few corners. Boom! Budget vets. I was in business. They might as well have called it Pet Stretcher. Expecting drunken vets working on rain-soaked mattresses, I was pleasantly surprised. Boss Peter Heathcote began my induction, and he certainly knew how to get me motivated.
At the end of this, will I want to be a vet after this,
No.
do you think?
Categorically.
Answer
Categorically, no. Once you have seen behind the scenes, I think there are so many other things you would choose to do. It's a vocation. It's something that starts very young, and then people work tirelessly to become vets.
I hate working tirelessly, so I was apprehensive. But like a sniper with an erection, I couldn't wriggle out of this now. Over the next few days, I'd have to slot into this busy Newport practice. And with no time to lose, Peter took me to meet his furry friends. Some puppies, not his testicles.
So the mum can't feed them, so they've all got to be fed and toileted.
Why can't the mum feed them?
She's had some problems, and then she's had the emergency operation, and she hasn't got any milk.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Are you sure they're not just hamsters? You know what you're doing, don't you?
Pete knew what he was doing, but I clearly didn't. So vet nurse and semi-pro Brian May tribute act Nicky started my training.
Oh, it's a little boy. Hello. Hello. Oh, it's a little girl. It's a little girl.
It's
a bit worrying, isn't it? 45 years old, I can't tell the difference.
We started with the basics, feeding, and I wasn't the only one who needed biology lessons. The hungry pup scoured my barren man-teats in a vain search for milk.
I'm not sure we're going to do it like that. You can have a go. Many have tried. He's determined to find something
He's
to
looking.
Get off my breasts.
Despite Peter's doom-mongering and the pup's inappropriate suckling, I was already loving it here.
Come on, it's nice. Yeah. Little sucker.
Good boy or girl.
Little boy, this one is.
Good boy.
Abandoned by their mother, we had to teach the pups what to do with food once they'd eaten it.
I said normally the bitch would clean them, and then she would be licking all the genital area here for them to wee and poo.
So they only wee and poo when they're rubbed?
When they're rubbed, yeah.
Oh, that's a bit disturbing. I'm going to attempt to stimulate a puppy to the point at which it goes to the toilet, and then I'm going to clear it up, which seems an odd logic.
Rub the vulva first.
Rub the vulva first. I can't really see what's what down here, to be honest.
I hold her.
You hold her.
There you go.
I'll stimulate her. Daddy rubbed my vulva and I had a wee.
Rub her bum as well and see if she'll have a little poo for you.
Great, I'll rub your bum and see if you'll poo for me. How big is it going to be if it
Oh,
comes
it's
out?
little. It's coming out. I can see a bit.
Oh, is it? Oh, there's a bit.
Nice
Oh, hang on a minute.
Oh, now we're
Oh.
having a good one.
Oh, it's like
well done,
Dijon
puppy.
mustard.
Just like Dijon mustard, you're right.
Yeah, that'll be lovely on a bit of ham, that. You take the condiments.
Hold on a second. There we go. Anything with animal waste on, faeces, urine, vomit, blood, etc. goes in the yellow bin.
Yellow
Okay.
bin, blood, faeces,
And then
vomit.
hand.
It's the same system I got at home. My wife keeps putting things in the wrong bin. She's always putting body parts in with the bottles and faeces in with the cardboard.
Peter's Purple Palace was like a Piccadilly circus for pets. Four-legged, three-legged, two-legged and no-legged, new patients poured in.
Just come in, a new arrival. I'm told it's a gannet. Which to you and me is a massive seagull with a yellow head. Gannet. That's the way. That's the way. Good gannet. Good gannet. Once we've treated him for lice, do you think we can do me as well?
My first day, I felt like Dr. Dolittle, in that there was very little I could do.
Just shove him in the boot.
But for now, at least, I was enjoying being on arrivals. Snake in a bag.
Before I do, is this a poisonous snake?
Well, that's why I want you to open the bag. So if I have a look inside.
It's disgusting.
It's not disgusting.
It is, Peter.
I've never...
Sorry.
Yeah, right.
I've got gannet lice.
I was having fun, but Peter was determined to spoil it for me. He knew my stomach was weaker than a cranefly's quads, so he made me sit in on an operation.
Just a little queasy, just a slight smattering of cold sweat all over the body.
I'd be observing a routine castration. When it came to dog's bollocks, Vet Alexa was the dog's bollocks.
Look at that. Oh, so you literally sort of rip it out of it. I'm feeling a sort of phantom castration going on myself. I can feel everything I'm doing.
Even though Bailey was totally unconscious, he could tell I was nervous and held my hand throughout the procedure.
You see them pulsing.
Oh, God, yeah, that's helped. That's really helped. I would say the level of responsibility is pretty heavy. In my job, I have no responsibility other than trying to give people a good night, make sure they have a bit of a laugh. It's not really the same thing. There's a pair of testicles on a table over there. It's a different level.
Like Ronnie O'Sullivan on a bad day, Bailey had left 2 red balls on the table, but there was no time to fetch my snooker cue. We were on to the next patient. Peter was still trying to destroy any thoughts I had of being a vet and decided to up the ante. Buddy was a horse dog with an anus horrificus.
Buddy. Buddy.
So Holly's just going to hold him so I can explain to Rhod what to do.
I don't think we need to hold him, do we? I think he's fine like this.
When Nikki explained exactly what we'd be doing, I was as excited as a puppy's vulva.
We've got the anus here, just inside. What you're feeling for is 2 like grape-sized swellings.
I switched
inside.
off once you said inside Buddy's anus. I switched off.
Buddy needed a routine anal gland expression. His ass was packed so tight he was farting pure house brick, and the anus was on me to sort it out.
You can squirt out. That's why you don't look directly at it, so you will have a face full.
This is like some horrible practical joke thing.
So this finger, we don't use
I have
not
to choose
this, not
which
this
one? It's
finger.
such a shame for the others to miss out.
I believe in freedom of expression, but not when it's the freedom to express bum juice in my face.
Can I at least have some protective...
Do you want a mask?
Yes, please.
I can get you a mask. I have to probably get one in a second.
It'd just be nice, wouldn't it? While the anal gland juice flies out. It'd just be nice to have something between that and my face.
Buddy was a weapon of ass destruction, so I battened down my facial hatches and prepared for the Poonami.
Oh, this is horrific.
I'll hold the tail.
This is horrific.
There we go.
I can't stick my finger up his ass. It's just too wrong.
This is just an anus. It's just some tissue joined together with some more connective tissue and a bit of skin, some blood vessels. There's nothing else. That's what it is.
You could say that about Holly, and I'm about to shove my finger up her ass. Sorry, Holly, I was just using you as an example. Could have been anyone. Sorry.
Right, can you feel a little...
No, I'm not in.
You're in, yeah, I can't see you.
Oh, God, this is disgusting. My glasses are steamed up. Oh, God, it's in.
You want to be sort of a good inch inside, probably.
I am an inch inside.
And can you feel any sort of swellings, like a little grape-sized swelling or smaller swelling?
No.
Buddy was backed up like an FBI hard drive, his poo-filled panniers as hard as tractor tyres. So Nikki the arse whisperer took over. Like a bum-based King Midas, everything she touched shat itself.
Oh, nice full one. Oh, there we go.
Oh, my God. Good boy.
So there you go. That's what we're trying to get out.
There's 2 types of people in the world. The people who've done that and the people who haven't. There's no way back. To the old me. To the old world. To the old order.
It had been a weird first day, but despite Gonadgate and Fartmageddon, I'd had a great time. But Peter was still trying to put me off. I hadn't even rubbed his vulva, and he was still pissing on my chips.
You've only had a real gentle taste today, but you've also got to be aware that just having an idea in your mind that every day is going to be wonderful and it's playing with animals, that's not what it is.
I was slightly worried about what Peter had in store for me, but I'd find out soon enough. If my first day had been Salvador Dali strange, my second one was about to get Francis Bacon weird, as Peter sent me out on pet ambulance duty.
This is Peter's farm, where he thinks somebody might have got his pig pregnant. It's down to me to find out whether that's true or not.
I had no idea what to do, but how hard could it be to ultrasound a 700-pound pork porter-cabin?
What we're doing, we're going to send sound waves, okay, into the pig's abdomen, and then as the sound waves are received back, it produces an image on the screen. This is the actual probe, and hopefully we'll be able to pick out fetuses.
Imagine you were a pig. Where would I be? Where am I looking for? Get on all fours,
Along
Nicky.
there.
Let's. It's a lot easier for me to see what I've got to do.
Right.
So imagine you're a pig.
If I'm a pig, okay,
You're a
so we've
pig.
got a line of boobies, not just
Yeah.
2, okay?
Yeah.
So in between a row of boobies and a line along the side here.
I couldn't wait to get in there and gel up Dottie's boobies when Nikki the arse whisperer dropped a bombshell.
Dottie seems to be in a bad mood this morning. She's really not happy with what we're doing. So she's
What does that
apparently
mean in pig terms?
less tolerant, really. She might show her teeth, and the worst case scenario, she'd try and sort of go for your legs or your feet.
Biting.
Yeah, biting.
I wasn't sure if the arse whisperer was telling Porky Pies, but Peter left me in no doubt.
She's charged and she's actually come over that gate.
She's got over that gate.
She's got over that gate,
That
which
pig?
is pretty impressive.
I needed some protection. I'd forgotten my pork sword and my spam javelin, but luckily Peter had the latest high-tech anti-pig defence system.
So this is a pig board. And
Pig board.
Pig board. And this is your safety when you go in there with her, because you're going to hold this nice
Not very
and firmly.
technical, this piece of safety equipment.
Not very technical. You can use that just to shield you. So if she knocks you out the way, you've got that board to deflect her.
At what point am I allowed to smack her over the head with this board?
Preferably none. You're just keeping that between her mouth and you, and then trying to rub her belly just to get her nice and relaxed, so that you can actually get her into a position to take the ultrasound scan.
Dotty put the Arnie into bacon sarnie. Clutching my pig swatter nervously, I got in the ring with the waddling sausage apocalypse.
What are you hoping to
Is
do?
there a noise I can make or something I can say to...
Just say hello? Yeah, keep away from her mouth.
I found this is what I do with animals. Is that nice?
That's fine.
It's relaxing, isn't it?
It's lovely. She's showing you her teeth now.
Is she?
Yeah, but that's fine.
Oh, God, I feel like a bullfighter. Is this good? Which side?
Any side, and then just stroke her belly.
Hello.
She's actually bitten one of those boards in half in the past.
As I tangoed with the hormonal bacon bungalow, Peter noticed something odd about her behaviour.
It looks like she wants you to be her partner.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm genuinely not interested, Dottie. It's nothing personal. Well, it is personal. It's totally personal, in fact.
Peter could tell the grumpy gammon fest wasn't pregnant. In fact, he was convinced the horny harbinger of ham wanted me to pork her. I wasn't ready for that and needed to get out of there fast.
All right. Stay calm, Gilbert. Stay calm. Oh,
She's starting to swell at the back end. That kind of behaviour for her, knowing her for the last 4 years, that's what she's like when she's coming into season.
So there's no point in me going in there with the ultrasound equipment and trying... Because I have to say, I don't think I'd be able to do it.
No, you wouldn't. It wouldn't be safe for you and it wouldn't be safe for her.
Was she really doing signs of that she wanted me as a mate?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think she's that fussy, to be honest, but...
Slightly traumatised, I was starting to see why Peter had tried to put me off being a vet. But before I could hand in my notice, we had another call. Peter worked closely with a local charity that looked after stray and rescue dogs, and I had a feeling the fun was about to stop.
Fortunately, we've had 2 dogs in about an hour ago in a pretty bad way, and I need you to give them a check.
The charity were very concerned about one of the dogs in particular. Oscar was a Staffordshire Bull Terrier in dire need of a medical examination.
Okay, my sweetheart.
There we go.
So he seems a little bit dehydrated at the moment, so what we'd probably advise is if we hospitalise him on a drip and getting him hydrated, and probably start him on some antibiotics as well. We can monitor how he gets on over the next 24 hours, see what improvement we get and whether we need to do any further tests.
Steady.
So we're going to take him in?
I'm just glad he's going to at least have a chance
I think,
for now, and
I
then
think we'll give
it's
him a
one step
chance.
at a time,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Poor Oscar was almost completely blind and clearly very weak. Vet Alexa wanted to get him back for treatment as soon as possible.
Things, my friend, can only get better. Good boy. Nearly there. We'll get you in the ambulance.
Back at the surgery, I was desperately hoping that once we got Oscar rehydrated, we'd start seeing signs of improvement.
Good boy. One last short journey for today. And then you can relax and sleep all you like, mate. Good boy. It's amazing how quickly you do bond. We've only met today. I feel pretty involved. The vets are going to give his insides a good old check-out. As somebody without any qualifications in this area at all, I can tell you that he's letting out some of the most horrific farts I've ever smelt. But I think under the circumstances, I'm going to let him off. No pun intended.
It had been an emotional day, but there was no time to dwell on it. I needed some more training, because Peter wanted me to experience firsthand the life and death responsibility that came with being a vet.
Tomorrow's going to be a really big day for you, so we're stepping your level of responsibility up. You're going to be actually monitoring the anaesthetics. Sarah's going to be looking after you, making sure that things go according to plan.
Tomorrow I'd be assisting in surgery, and there was a lot to learn. Nurse Sarah had her work cut out, because the closest I've come to operating on an animal is pricking a sausage.
This is the anaesthetic vaporizer machine. This is basically what keeps your patient asleep, okay? So the levels of gas that you need is determined with the levels on the dial. So you've got 1 to 5, okay? The depth that they go in depends on, like, say, what level you've got them at, and it does happen fairly quickly depending on your patient.
I was knackered after an emotional day, but tomorrow I'd be in theatre and I needed to know this stuff.
On there. So to turn your oxygen on, you just literally flick your dial all the way round. So when you've got oxygen in the system, can you notice the little...
It's revolving.
Yeah. And then if you just check then on your oxygen...
As we pushed on into the night, the dedication required to work here was obvious. Unless you normally hang out with pigs, dogs, ferrets and gannets, you could kiss goodbye to a social life.
And just make sure then that you've got enough isoflurane in the system then, obviously, for that procedure that you're doing. Yeah.
Sarah ploughed on and on, force-feeding my brain like she was fattening it up for pate.
Keep an eye on this level, because we don't want it to drop any lower than that, because otherwise you run the risk of running out of anaesthetic gas. And obviously while your patient's on the table, there is the risk of, your patient waking up. Is a very big responsibility. Yeah. You're the difference between it being a good outcome for that patient or a bad outcome.
A good outcome or a bad outcome. That's life or death.
Yeah.
I could feel my fattened pate brain oozing out of my ears. I was ready for bed, but Sarah wanted to check I'd taken it all in.
What's important about the valves?
The valve has got to be open before we start. If the valve is shut and things start coming through there, then this could expand, inflate and actually burst.
Correct.
Now can I go home?
What should we be checking with our isoflurane unit?
We should be checking that the isoflurane before we start is above that bottom line there, like a little dipstick.
That's correct.
Now, please, I'm exhausted, miss. Can I go home?
You can after we've got theatre ready, so we have to clean theatre ready.
I don't want to clean theatre ready, miss. Be involved in operations and a lot more hands-on and a lot more technical, just a lot more responsibility than I've done up to now. And that's weighing on my mind. Can I go home now, please?
Yep, we just got one more little job to do. We just need to go and check how Oscar's doing with the night vet before we go.
That I can do. As long as he's improved a bit, that will give me a little lift to finish the day.
It was approaching midnight and tomorrow was a big day, but I did want to check on Oscar and settle him down for the night.
His condition at the moment, I would say, is still quite critical. He's so weak from everything he's gone through. All we can do for him tonight now is give him supportive therapy and just see how he responds to that.
I hadn't realised a vet's was this intense. Behind the scenes, the patients needed you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was very hard to just go home. First thing next morning, I headed straight in to see how Oscar was doing. Vet Ellie was on duty and gave me an update.
He doesn't seem to be showing much signs of improvement.
No, he's still sort of very, very poorly. Obviously he can't see anything. He can't really sort of stand up either, and he's falling over the place. And you have to sort of think of, is that a good enough life for him really, where he can't do the things that he's supposed to do as a dog?
The vets felt that Oscar was too old and frail to cope with the major operations he needed to pull through, and a very difficult decision had been made.
In his case then, the best interest for him would be to put him to sleep.
That's hard.
It is tough, yeah. You have to sort of keep your feelings out of it, really. It is difficult to step away, it is. You have to sort of think of what is best for him.
That's fine, if I just signed it now.
What we do is we inject into the catheter going into his veins, so it is like an anaesthetic really. It's going to be painless for him because he won't feel a needle or anything going in. So he'll start drifting off to sleep now, okay?
It's difficult, isn't it? Good boy. Good boy. You done? Good boy.
You okay? Yeah. It's important to remember that he was surrounded by people that genuinely cared about him at this time.
It's very sad. It's hard. Even though you know it's totally the right thing to do, it's still watching her life disappear is hard. I know he's gone, but I'm still wishing him well and still sending him off with a, go on, my son, get up to doggy heaven and give him hell up there, innit? Good boy. Good boy. Right, get the hell out of here. Pete told me at the start of this to enjoy the positives. The positive moments that you get, really breathe them in deep and hold on to them because you'll need them in the more difficult, emotionally challenging times. When I think of putting Oscar down, you know, you need things like the ducklings. Finding those 16 ducklings in the back of a BMW, you need those lighter moments you need to hold on to those to get you through the harder times. And he was absolutely right.
I now knew exactly what Peter had been on about. It was bloody tough. One of the hardest things was always having to just keep going and move on to the next patient. I really needed a positive patient outcome to lift my spirits. The Hope rescue team were back with a hairy horde of homeless hounds to be neutered, and my next patient was just the tonic I needed. Alison had brought in a wiry bundle fun called Poppy. Poppy was in for a routine spay, and I'd be on anaesthetic duty.
So what we need to do today now, Rhod, is get informed consent from the client. So we need to explain what the procedure is.
She's going to be given a general anaesthetic.
Yeah.
You're aware of what that means?
Yes.
Knocked out completely.
Yep.
Gas.
It is quite a serious procedure that we're doing for Poppy today. We will do a full ovarian hysterectomy on her.
So in layman's terms, she's going to leave without her...
Ovaries and her uterus.
Her ovaries and her uterus. Yeah. We're all clear?
Yeah, that's right.
Poppy, are you clear?
Kiss.
One blink for yes. One blink for yes. Thank you. Done.
With Poppy's legally binding blink, I whisked her off for a pre-med, where Vet Ellie knocked her out. With sedative drugs, not her fist.
And then your Uncle Rhod is going to make sure there's enough oxygen and enough gas for you to keep you anaesthetised at just the right level. You can trust your old Uncle Rhod, can't you? I've done this 100 times. I did tell her a little white lie there. It does seem to have relaxed her.
Poppy was going to have her girl gonads removed, but she was hairier than a shot putter's shoulders. As she started to lose consciousness, we plucked her, basted her in butter, and popped her on a baking tray.
Closest I've come to this is carrying a chicken from a unit into the oven.
It was time to put my foot on the gas, LOL, ruffle, etc. Under the watchful eye of Nurse Nikki, it was my job to keep Poppy sedated, comfortably, safely, and most importantly, alively.
Just popped a heart rate monitor onto Poppy's tongue to check her pulse. This is a very odd feeling. It's certainly a first for me to be involved in any kind of surgery.
While Vet Ellie skillfully plucked out Poppy's puppy pack, Nikki made sure that what I was doing wouldn't lead to a negative outcome for the patient.
We sort of continuously checking the dog's respiration, the colour, anything that you think is unusual.
I was concentrating hard to remember my training and monitor Poppy's vitals, but the bleeping heart rate monitor was stressing me out. Like a coked-up microwave, it was a constant reminder that it was just us keeping her alive.
Okay, I'm just checking her blink reflex. Blink reflex. The eye position is down, so the eye, she's actually looking, pupils and thingies have dropped down. Okay, the jaw tone is, it feels very slack. So do I mark slack for that? S for slack. Can you just have a look at her eye position? It doesn't look as down as it was earlier. I can see quite a lot of the eye.
For a nervy first-time anaesthetist, every twitch, every bleep, or lack of bleep, was a heart-stopping moment.
You just moved down the tongue. Even though you're here, and I know that my responsibility isn't in any way, you panic if you don't see the chest rise for a second. You panic if you don't.
The last thing you want is somebody who's an anaesthetist is to be complacent and think, I'm out of breath for a while. You've got to be straight on it,
Yeah.
Otherwise you would lose something.
Oh, I'm good. I'm glad I've got the right instincts.
No, that's the right.
The main sense of anxiety or stress or drama or responsibility is coming from that bloody machine.
It may have been a routine operation, but for me it felt like a lifetime. It was finally time to sew Poppy up after one important inventory.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swabs, and I've still got my 4 needles.
So you're doing a kind of check that
Yep.
nothing is left in there.
Yeah.
Nobody left in there? We're all here? Nikki?
And she's still got her glasses
Present?
on.
Yeah.
You still got your
I
glasses
can
on?
still see, that's good.
I still can't believe I'm going to do the next one.
Maybe.
I'm not doing the next one. Relax.
I was very relieved. Poppy wouldn't be playing Twister for a few weeks, but she seemed fine.
Immediately, as soon as we've turned the isoflurane and the anaesthetic off, she's starting to come round. Her legs are starting to move.
There we go.
So her gag reflex is intact.
Yep, there we go. Lovely. Good morning.
Call it puppy love, but I wanted to stay with Poppy and look after her for a bit. But in this job, there's no time to dwell on the positive outcomes either. And once again, it was straight on to another patient.
I'm back at Peter's farm to see Dottie, the pig. She's in season, so I've come back today, potentially to artificially inseminate my first pig. To artificially inseminate my first anything. It's a beautiful day for it.
This is what you're going to insert into her, okay? You need to turn this anti-clockwise. Going to put a little bit of lubrication on there first, just to get her in the mood. And then push it in nice and firm, and you'll feel it lock into place. You shouldn't really be able to pull it back very easily when it's fully inserted and locked into place. Start twisting. You're getting ready to party. That's it, yeah. Bit of resistance. That's it. That's good. Push in there, Rod. Yeah, she likes you. She's ready.
Unsurprisingly, artificial insemination didn't come naturally. They say you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, but I was making a right pig's ear out of this sow's silk purse.
There we are. And you've just mated your first pig.
Thanks, Peter.
Well done.
First of many, I feel.
Peter was confident that Dottie and I would soon hear the clickety-clack of tiny trotters. I wasn't so sure. I hadn't even had a lard on. But for once, I was glad there was no time to dwell on it. It was back to base to check on Poppy.
Hello. She has recovered tremendously well and quickly.
Poppy's operation had been a complete success, but with no home for her to go to, it didn't feel like a totally happy ending.
Still a bit of an emotional tug to see her going off, form that bond, and then off she goes to a rescue centre, and we'll, fingers crossed, she'll find a home. It's quite hard. We don't quite know what the future's going to be.
So how have you found it over the last 4 days?
I think my body language should give you some idea. This is a wonderful vocation and a shit job. And what I mean by that is that this job, you give up your social life, you live and work and breathe it.
Our vets, they don't feel like they've given up anything really, because this is what they want to do, this is their vocation. And that means that they were the right people to become vets. You've seen that while you've been here, and you've been part of that. And well done to you, because you've really stuck with it.
I had my finger up a dog's ass.
Yeah, perhaps we'll forget that bit.
2 weeks later, I had almost forgotten about it, but I hadn't forgotten about Poppy. Luckily, the rescue centre had found her a new home, so I paid them a visit.
Hello, Poppy.
How's your new home? How is your new home? Do you like it? What's that say then? Home, sweet home. Is it good to be home?